Hey Q, what's the word?
What is up? What is up, Kev?
Hey man, we got a lot to talk about today. It's just gonna be me and you. Steve-O has some things to take care of, but it's finally opening night for the Chicago Bulls, baby. We're gonna talk about that. Chicago Bears have found a diamond in the rough at the safety position, and the Blackhawks got smacked around last night. We're gonna talk about all that plus more right after the intro. What's the word, Chicago sports fans? Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Chi-Town Sports Central. It's your boy, Big Bro, Big Kev in the building. We got Q in the building. And as you can see, I'm on the road, but the show must go on. We got a lot to talk about, but we're going to talk. Let's just go right into it. Chicago Bulls play basketball tonight. NBA season kicked off last night with some pretty interesting games. The Celtics hit 29 threes, something like that, versus the Knicks. Couldn't make the 30th three. And then LeBron and Bronny made history. First father-son duo to step foot on an NBA basketball court simultaneously. And Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Sr. were there as well. So that was cool to see, regardless of how you feel about LeBron as a person. Did you get a chance to see that?
I didn't get to watch it live, but I did watch videos of it. It's something you want to be able to say you saw, right?
Yeah.
It's a regardless of. I've seen a lot of people talking about Bronny and if he deserves to be in the league or not. But if you are a human and a father in the United States of America, this is a
Yes.
dream you have of doing something you love with your son and being at the highest level of it. Like you gotta appreciate it, regardless if you like LeBron or not. It's one of those moments that everybody's gonna remember.
Yep. And another moment that we're going to see tonight is the official return of Lonzo Ball to the Chicago Bulls basketball team. He has been out of basketball for all of 2.5, almost 3 years. Hasn't been a part of this team in terms of basketball activity, at least. Now he's back. We also got some other players returning. Zach LaVine being one of them, returning from injury himself after last season's tumultuous up and down affair with him. But he's back, and he's probably going to be like the de facto leader of this squad. But then you got one other player who took a step forward last year in Kobe White. So you got some players that's looking to have the Bulls surprise some teams. So they're going to surprise the league. I feel like they're going to be better than their 28.5 over under that's been predicted. But I could be wrong. How we feeling about Lonzo Ball's return, man? Is he going to be effective? Is it because he looked good in that preseason game
Yeah.
he played?
I mean, from what we saw, it looks like he, regardless of the injury, he knows basketball. He looks effective. This team looks different when Lonzo's on the court. Like, there's no way you can not say that. You can clearly see how he affects just the smarts of the team, how people move. I'm not sure if he will play tonight, though. I know they said that he's probably only going to play one of the first two games, so I'm assuming they might hold him off until the home opener. I would
Uh,
rather him play at the
I
home opener than the away one, but
I got it. Well, they got two road games and then the home opener. So they got this game, and they got the Bucks, and then they got Oklahoma City. So I believe he's going to be playing tonight. Billy Donovan has said, according to Casey Johnson, that he'll likely be in the 14 to 16 minute range versus the Pelicans. So and they're looking to have everybody, all hands on deck, no injuries on the injury report. But just like the first time in 3 years that there's
yeah.
there's zero players on the injury report for the Chicago Bulls, which bodes well for them. I think people are underselling the talent that this team has. Now defensively, they're going to struggle. Ayo Dosunmu is the unquestioned defensive leader on this squad. Dalen Terry does have some defensive chops himself. It remains to be seen what Montes Buzel is going to bring to the table. We know that Pete Will has shown flashes of being able to be a strong defensive player, but Vucevic is going to leave so many holes, and Zach LaVine as well, even though he does play the passing lanes a little bit. Let's see if he can be rejuvenated to have a new interest on the defensive side. But if they can play even just a little bit of defense, the Chicago Bulls team could eke out and sneak out a road win versus the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. How you feeling about tonight's game?
I think they can win. I think the key to this game is going to be Patrick Williams on Zion. That's
Yeah.
what's going to decide it. If he can't guard him, the Bulls have no chance of stopping this team. If you can play good defense, if you can stop Zion from getting to the rim as much as because you're not going to stop him the whole game, but if you can stop him from getting there sometimes, you can stop DeJounte Murray from getting to the rim. That's what's going to help you win this game, right? From what I've seen, they're not the greatest shooting team. The Bulls suck at getting out to the 3-point line. So as long as you can control the paint, that's going to be the goal for you. I think the Bulls will win. I think that they're going to come in with Lonzo playing his first real game. They
Against his
have
former team.
Yep, they have Zach trying to come back and show that he's a great player and that he's, still got it. Patrick's trying to make up for the last few years. Kobe's trying to show he's still a great player and he's hit that level. Like there's a lot of things that they have to prove in this game. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is the first game we see the Bulls come out with energy and take a giant lead at the first part of the game instead of waiting to the second quarter to actually get going.
I mean, stopping Zion Williamson is a tall task, and I don't think it's just going to be P. Will. It's going to have to be a team effort because if he gets switched on to Vucevic, it's going to be barbecue chicken every time. So I just don't. I don't know if they can stop him, but they got to definitely try to contain him. And DeJounte is giving the Chicago Bulls trouble over the years, just in general. DeJounte Murray is a talent who can score inside and outside, but it's about stopping the others too. You still got Trey Murphy to worry about. You still got CJ McCullough to worry. I think CJ is he starting the season? I don't know because he's often hurt. But you still got some other guys out there that you got to pay attention to as well. So I think it's going to be less about the starters and it's going to come down to the others. Can Matas Buzelis rein it in? And not allow the moment to be too big in his first official NBA game. Can you have Ayo DeSumo go out there and be the leader of this second unit to start? Him and Lonzo going to be on the court at the same time, so which I think that's going to be dope. How's Josh Giddey going to look with running this offense, getting Kobe White involved, getting Alonzo involved, and even Vucevic? He has to get involved, and we know that he likes to soak if he doesn't get his touches, if he doesn't get involved early. So can he stay engaged? And Billy Gum Chewing Donovan, what are your rotations going to look like tonight, my guy? Because I don't want to see players that deserve to be out there buried on the bench. Use your players. This is the official youth movement, is what you've been wanting pretty much since you've been here as a Chicago Bulls head coach. Debo is gone now, so you can't lean on that crutch any longer of allowing him to just go out and do what he wants to do. Draw some good plays, my guy. Let these guys go out there and show what they can do. All right, so if you guys want to hear anything else about the Chicago Bulls, today is the day to go head over to Chicago Bulls Central. Hayes is going to be a busy man today. And then you also have the Shy Bulls podcast. Hayes is going to be doing pregame, halftime, and postgame coverage for the Chicago Bulls game tonight. And the Shy Bulls podcast with Bobby, C-Dub. They're the host over there. Steve-O Speaks and myself. We also pop in for the live calls. C-Dub does an amazing job at live calls. So turn the game on, turn your TV down, turn YouTube up, and hang out with the fellas of the Shy Bulls podcast later on tonight for the first game of the season. That's going to be lit. Ooh, I'm excited, bro.
Yep. And I was going to say, we also do know Billy Donovan's rotation. Spearmint, double bubble. You got a little bit of 5 hour. Like he got his rotation in there.
You funny, man. Look, stay close a little longer with Big Red. Hey, so moving on, man, to Chicago Bears. Kevin Bayard, man, this man has been excellently flying under the radar for the Chicago Bears at the safety position. And dare I say, he's been an upgrade over Eddie Miss Tackle Jackson out there. This man has been a top 3 safety in the NFL this season. And I'm going to be honest, when it came down to all the moves that the Chicago Bears made this past offseason, whether it be moving on from certain players, also bringing in Caleb Williams, also drafting Rome Odunze, getting a new offensive coordinator, so on and so forth. Kevin Bayard is kind of like the one that got lost in the shuffle of all the different moves that the Chicago Bears made. Even some of the moves that they made that didn't even make the team was getting more hype as far as like Hard Knocks was concerned. They were talking about the dude from Canada more than they were talking about this particular player. But so far, this dude behind the other two guys in the NFC North, Xavier McKenzie and I can't think of the young fella's name over on the Detroit, right? The Detroit Lions. Those guys, oh, here Xavier McKinney and Brian Branch. Those guys are the only two guys in front of him in the entire NFL at ratings, defensive ratings at the position. How you feeling about Kevin Byard at safety and what that means for the Chicago Bears moving forward?
I mean, I've been feeling great about it. I mean, I think right now, yeah, it says he has 39 tackles, right? On top of that, not only is he skilled, right? He knows what he's doing. He can tackle, which is a great improvement of what we had. But two, he's also put into a backfield of people where he doesn't have to worry. He can trust, right? He
Mm-hmm.
can play on instinct and not have to think, oh, the people around me aren't going to make the move, so I have to do everything. He just has to play his game, right? And when you have, Stevenson, when you have, Johnson on both sides taking people out, now you can say, okay, where am I really needed? Not just I got to look back and forth and hope that I can figure out who's losing right now. He just has to
Mm-hmm.
focus on what's the best play, focus on the quarterback, and play what he knows how to do.
Yeah, I mean he does have 27 solo tackles and five defensive stops. Just listen, bro. He has not missed tackles like Eddie Jackson was doing. How many times did we see Eddie Jackson just whiff or just completely blow his coverage? As he had a good
Yep.
first 2 years as a Chicago Bear, and then after that it was all downhill. He was kind of living off the start of his career coming out of Alabama, Eddie Jackson that is, and then he just didn't really build on his game. He didn't become cerebral, which you have to be at the safety position. You got to be completely locked in at
Yep.
the safety position because you're called a safety. That means that you're the last line of defense in a lot of cases. So he's taking care of business. He's limited opposing quarterbacks to a 71.9 passer rating when they target him, and he does have an interception this season as well. So listen, man, Kevin Byard is the diamond in the rough that nobody's really talking about in terms of like Chicago Bears fans. We keep our ears to the streets. We see a lot of different comments here and there across different channels. And most people are talking about Caleb Williams. They're talking about Shane Walsh, and they're even talking about Rome Odunze, but they're not really talking about this move that Ryan Poles made that falls into the let Ryan Poles cook category. Because, hey, some of us are still complaining about Velus Jones Jr., right? Like, why is he still on this team? Some of us are still complaining about Nate Davis. Is he going to be traded? What's going to happen with Khalil Herbert? Those types of things. What's going to go down at the trade deadline? But I want to give him a little bit of props here on going out, and he was the first person they signed, if I'm not mistaken, in this free agency offseason, and it's turned out to be a really, really good signing.
Yeah, those are one of those moves where it's underrated. People don't think about it, but when you're a championship team, those are the moves that help you get there. Right? The people that no one thinks about that get out every day, play their game, they don't get the recognition they should, but they still are the ones who contribute to really winning. Like you're talking, we have a long playoff run. He's a 60% of that if you're talking a backfield, right? But no one's going to know.
Yeah,
Like, because he doesn't make the big plays, right? He makes the I'm protecting everyone else plays, and that's not what fans look at. We want to see a giant hit or an interception or a sack. Like we don't care about the guys who go in there and just stop people from wanting to go their direction. That's
yeah.
that's where you get the wins when you're down in like the grid of everything. So I think he's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great move. I don't agree with the whole people still complaining about Velus Jones. I don't have an issue with being on the team. Just don't let him return ever.
Well, and that's the reason why I have an issue with him being on the team is because he's taking up a roster spot, and you could be getting a look at somebody else that maybe a Reddy Stewart, for example, could be getting a little bit more burn as a member of the roster, and there's money involved as well when you get called up to the big leagues. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's a wasted roster spot for Velus Jones Jr. But there's no need to beat a dead horse there. If you want to hear anything else about the Chicago Bears, head on over to the Chicago Bears Central, where Hayes, Bobby, C-Dub, Steve-O, and myself, we all pop in and out of there on occasion and provide you with daily updates for the Chicago Bears in season and out of season. So, and mailbags too. So go ahead, head over to Chicago Bears Central for your Chicago Bears updates. Now, Q, last night, Chicago Blackhawks were at the crib with an opportunity to gain some points, get their record to 3-1, and it just didn't happen, bro. They got smacked around by the Vancouver Canucks to the tune of 6-3, relinquishing 4 goals in the first inning. 4 in the first inning, first period. Why I say inning, I talk about baseball too much. First period, then the second period, the Blackhawks scored 2 themselves in the first period, and then they gave up a donut in the second, and then gave up 2 more goals in the third period to fall 6-3 to the Vancouver Canucks, and it was just not a good look for the Chicago Blackhawks yesterday, bro.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the Blackhawks if we but it's one of those things, like you start out a game, you start out bad, you're not prepared for the first, and then once that happens, where do you go from here? You've lost all respect for yourself, you've lost all thoughts of we can win this. Like you give up 4, it's over. Like most
Especially
hockey
at
games,
hockey.
yeah, you give up 4 goals in the first, what do you want us to do now?
Now, and here's the thing: like they scored themselves 2 goals in the first period themselves. Had they went out and put up at least 1 goal in the second period, it would have been a 4-3 game going into the third, and that changes all mentality toward how we can finish this game. But by not doing so and then subsequently giving up 2 goals in the third period, it just messed everything up. This is a Blackhawks team that cannot afford to have slow starts. They're still rebuilding. They're still really young. So nobody, make no bones about it, nobody's expecting them to be a playoff team. But I do expect them not to get smacked around like that at the crib, especially in the first period. And then let's see how they could bounce back from this loss last night, because it's just not a good look, especially at
Yeah.
the crib. I want to see them taking strides forward and not backwards, because last season was just it was atrocious. They set a record for losses and so on and so forth. We don't want to see that again. We saw that too much with my White Sox this
Mhm.
year. We want to move forward. We want progress for our teams. So if you guys want to hear anything else, any in-depth analysis about last night's game and anything else about the Chicago Blackhawks, head on over to Chicago Blackhawks Central, where the gang holds it down over there. So moving on, Q. Yesterday we talked about how Mayor Johnson was open to the Chicago White Sox building a new stadium. JB Pritzker was like, hold on now, fam. Hit him with the Dikembe Mutombo. What you thought, fam? Hell no. There's no way we're going to relinquish public funds for the Chicago White Sox to build their stadium. And here's his quote: $1 billion investment in a private business for a private business rather than owned by wealthy people in this highly valued enterprise. It seems the taxpayer rightly should say, don't we have other uses for that capital? And let's just be frank. Jerry, Mr. Burns Reinsdorf, you got some nerve, some gall to even open your mouth, your 90-year-old lips, to ask for the public to assist you in funding a stadium for a team that can't even assist themselves with wins, to at least improve or increase public opinion of the team. The Kansas City Chiefs have won the last 2 Super Bowls. I think they've won 4 out of the last 6, and they're on the pace to be the first team in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. And Kansas City don't even want to give them a new stadium. They're talking about leaving Kansas City. And you think that the stinky old White Sox deserve taxpayer money to build a new stadium for a team that sucks? The best thing about the Chicago White Sox and their current stadium is the food. It's the food. That's it. It's not the players. Every time I go to a White Sox game, Q, before I let you go, bro, I sit there and like, man, look at these millionaires out there just having about the same amount of a good time as I am. Like I could get paid $300,000 a game to go strike out, to
Mhm.
bobble fly balls, to mess up on base running, to walk the bases loaded, stuff like I could go do that. Give me 300,000. Let me go do something like that. So how you feeling about JB Pritzker telling them to pump the brakes real quick on this stadium talk, my guy?
I am excited. One, I'm a Cubs fan, so y'all not getting in the stadium makes me happy anyway. I like the Cubs having the best stadium in baseball in the Chicago area. So, but two, honestly, I mean, what do you expect? Like, it's Jerry. The city knows how much we all hate him. The team sucks. Like, if you were gonna do this, you do this when the Sox win the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
When they won the World Series, you should have came out the next year. I'm like, hey, we need a new stadium. we're trying to make this go for the next few years. To do it after a year of having the worst team ever.
Mm-hmm.
Not only having the worst team ever, but also with all of the notions in news about how bad of an owner you are. And on top of that, you spent all this money to start a network. You couldn't put none of that towards your own stadium. Like, why am I going to pay for a stadium? You can't even give me the games on TV. Like, like this is the worst place ever to ask people to give you money. Like, it's just something where you can see the city's not going to approve it. You can see it's something that doesn't make sense for us. It doesn't even make sense for the team. Like, they don't need a stadium. They have a stadium that works fine. The only issue is the location. Like, I don't like. There's
And even
no.
that's not an issue. Like, let's be honest. As a person who roots for both teams, at least, at least for the White Sox, you can park and walk to the game, as opposed to the Cubs, where you got to park 3 miles away and take an Uber to the game because there's nowhere to park around Wrigley Field. You're not about to sit here and besmirch the location, 35th South Side. What you talking about?
Well, the issue isn't the issue for me, but let's be real. There's some people on the Skokie area and
Hey, they can stay out
that
in
might not,
Skokie. They ain't
that
got to
might
come out
not want to walk down to the Sox Stadium. Okay, like we're being
here.
honest here.
They
So
ain't just
like,
take the train, bro. Get off, walk right upstairs. You straight take the Skokie Swift to the red line, and you good, bro.
yeah, people are afraid of that. Look, I used to live in the hundreds at one point. Like I
Yeah,
understand, I'm cool with it, but there's a lot of people where they hear it's where
yeah.
they immediately are not going.
Hey,
Okay.
and even though we from the hundreds from the South Side, sometimes I hear it's where I'll send you a gift.
Oh, hey,
I'm sure that birthday party gonna be lit, but
great.
after
I magically got called into work today. I'm sorry. I got to.
my bad, man. My cat is stuck in a tree and ain't coming down. I can't. So yeah,
It's a
if you
good
guys
time.
want to hear anything else, I will be starting to record for Chicago White Sox Central starting next week, especially if they finally do get a new manager. That's what I've been waiting on, to send them to get a new manager. It's difficult to talk about the White Sox, but it's easier over here within the context of all Chicago sports. But we do have the brand new Chicago White Sox Central, so go ahead, seek out this page, start to like it now before we start recording episodes for it. Q, moving on to the Chicago Cubs. Craig Counsell is still rounding out his coaching staff. You know, he came over last season. The Cubs top brass, kind of wooed him over from the enemy, from the Milwaukee Brewers, which is kind of why I feel like they faltered this season, the way they did David Ross and the way they did the Brewers, even though I don't care about how they did the Brewers. It kind of felt like it was karmic energy for the Cubs to not be able to get over that hump this season, mainly because of how they did David Ross and just unceremoniously firing him after they missed the playoffs by one game last season. This season, they missed the playoffs by 4 games, and they're still kind of rounding out their coaching staff. Eventually, they'll round out their roster to kind of mimic or mirror the type of roster that Craig Counsell can work with. Because let's be honest, like the team that they fielded this season was David Ross's team. So they're looking to try to get more players in here that kind of fit the play style or the managerial style of Craig Counsell. But he has promoted a few people from within this season, this offseason, one being Mark Strittmatter. That's a name for you. He spent the past season as the major league field coordinator for the Chicago Cubs, whatever that is. These fools just be
Yeah,
creating
that's
jobs for people. What is a major league field coordinator? Like, was he the groundskeeper? But now he's the leading candidate to fill the role as a bullpen coach for the Chicago Cubs. He's one of the few new hires that Craig Counsell brought in when he came over from the Milwaukee Brewers. How you feeling about that?
I mean, hey, this is what it is to be in a professional league, right? If you get a position, you want people around you that you trust, right? Counsel needs his counsel. If he's going to be out there, he needs people who are going to listen to him, who he respects, who he thinks are going to make the right decisions when he's not around. That's something that's just professional sports. And it sucks because some people lose their jobs strictly off the fact that they weren't there at the right time. But also like that he is taking people from within, right? That shows that it's not just about a like, hey, I know this guy from back in the day type of thing. It's I think this person would do good in this position. So it's something that you got to have. And as a Cubs fan, we've sucked for hundreds of years. Like every year I go into it with let's just not be the White Sox. As long as we beat the White Sox, I'm a happy fan. I don't watch it as much as I used to. Working there has done a lot of changing for me. But like I said, as long as to this day I'm still a diehard fan at heart, if we beat you, that's all I care about in the season.
Whatever, man. White Sox all day when it comes to that rivalry. But I do root for both squads. Now, once the season was over, the Chicago Cubs did move on from the bullpen coach, who this gentleman is replacing Darren Holmes, first base coach Mike Napoli, assistant hitting coach Jim Meducci, and they also got rid of two strength and conditioning coaches as well, in Ryan Clausens and Keegan Knoll. And they also got rid of Willie Harris from third base coach. So there's a lot of positions to fill. But another position that they're going to fill too is the two strength and conditioning coaches. They got Mark Weissman and Kevin Poppy to come in and replace that position. And that's going to be important because Chicago Cubs did suffer a lot of injuries last season. And Wiseman, he grew up in the Chicago suburban area, and he played fullback at the University of Iowa. So he's a hard nosed guy. If you play fullback, you got to be strong, even
Yeah.
because you're basically a sixth offensive lineman, so to speak. And Poppy also has built relationships from his time as a specialist who worked as a liaison between major league and minor league teams. And Poppy, he already has been working with Hayden Wesneski as well. So I feel like the Cubs are doing the right things, man. They're trying to get the internal in the trenches, so to speak, under control, so that when they go into next season, they can try to make a playoff push, because we already know that Cubs fans expect the World Series every season.
Yep. It says a lot about counsel too, because like it says that they trust him. They didn't just draft him. Well, yeah. They didn't just hire him and go, hey, we're gonna give you this team, do what you can. They said, hey, what moves do you need to make? Who do you want here? Who do you want here? That's a sign of trust and a sign that we're okay with you being here for a while, right?
hmm
You don't just every year switch out your entire staff. It just doesn't
hmm
happen. So to make that move says that they have an idea of where they want to go. They have an idea of what type of baseball they want to play, what type of off the field stuff they want to focus on. So hey, I'm all for it. If you have a plan and you want to make a giant change and it's something that will benefit us as a city, go right ahead.
Oh yeah, I will be 100% honest. Chicago baseball is better when the Cubs are good. It's better when the Chicago White Sox are good as well, but we know that the Chicago Cubs have the stronger fan base in the city in regards of rabid fanhood. Like the White Sox fans are strong too. Let's make no bones about it. They're just not as loud as the Cubs fans. So if you guys want to hear anything else about the Chicago Cubs, head on over to Chicago Cubs Central, which I'll be touching base on what they've been doing real soon when I get back from off the road. All right, last topic to discuss, and we are right at the 30-minute mark, so we're on pace. We have the Chicago Sky. There's not much news about the Chicago Sky, but we know that Angel Reese finds a way into the news. Period. Every day. No news is good news, but some news is great news for Angel Reese. We all saw she was on the court side with the split jersey of Nefessa Collier and Brianna Stewart, and they are not coincidentally, but just they are the founders of Unrivaled. And honestly, I didn't even know this. This is a new 3-on-3 women's basketball league that's going to allow the WNBA players to play basketball without having to go overseas, so to speak, to do so in the off season. And Angel Reese has made it known that she will be suiting up to play in the league. And she's quoted saying, "I'm excited for the league's first season. It's amazing to be a part of a league that gives equity to players. I'm looking forward to playing with the best athletes and really using the time to focus on my game getting better too. So we all know that Angel Reese needs to work on her offensive game, whether it's footwork, whether it's finishing around the basket. And frankly, I play a lot of 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 basketball, half court basketball. And you can definitely work on those things in that capacity, not having to run up and down the court, not having to lose your wind, and working on back cuts and so on and so forth is going to be important in a league like this. Can Angel Reese benefit, and hopefully Camila Cardoso too is going to be a part of this? Can they benefit from playing in this type of organized league, 3-on-3?
Yeah, definitely. One, it's going to take a lot of the mental out of it, right? Now, I do think the league's going to be more of a higher quality type of player league. You're not going to see some of the lower tier players in the league really doing it because it's just not going to sell much. So I think the most people in it are going to be the top of the top players who are doing this. But to have that option of not having to go overseas, right? You don't have to focus on that. Two, you're going to have a lot more cardio that's needed. There is no, I'm gonna sit in the corner and watch the person in the corner. You're moving the entire time. And last,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna help them with their defense. One of the big things, if you play 3-on-3, if you play, 1v1, you have to guard your man. There is no helping. There's no worrying about your teammates. You are the last line of defense. So I think that'll help them understand how to do that. And then you take that into a group team where you're not having to switch as much because you know how to guard your man. It'll help them work on a lot of things that people don't really work on, I believe, when it comes to offseason things. Most players, WNBA or NBA, you're working on your jump shot. You're working on trying to get some certain moves down, but most people don't spend the offseason working on their defense. So I think this is going to be something that really gets them set for that. Plus, you can't say no to equity. It's a smart
Yeah.
move. Like, give them equity. It's a business plan of like, hey, we know we're not gonna make too much, but we'll make enough for us to make money and you make money. And I know they're trying to get Caitlin Clark in this as well, just because the name. So yeah, trying to get them down, trying to get the name out there, trying to see what they can do offseason wise and give these girls a chance to keep practicing, keep working, but in a way that gives them less stress of having to travel across the country just to play the game they love.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark would be with listen, if she does it, she already looked like Curry. She gonna look more like Curry in a 3-on-3 format, bro. Like that
Mm-hmm.
pick and pop is gonna be crazy. And just on the island, you'll have more space to work with. That's part of the reason why I like that format. Is it's not as clogged up with with 5 people on the court.
Yep.
You can roam a little bit more and create your shot a little bit more as well. So we've seen the big three. It's fun to see. My man's what's the light skinned fella's name over there that's killing everybody? He played at Kansas State, was drafted the same year as KD. Michael Beasley. He's Michael
Oh yeah.
as D Rose. Michael Beasley over
Yep.
there dominating the big three because he just has too much room, too much space to work with. And we know
Mm-hmm.
he can still be playing in the league too. Get that man a job in the NBA. Somebody got a roster spot for him. He can play for somebody. But all right, man, y'all already know. If you want to know anything else about the Chicago Sky, head on over to Chicago Sky Central, where Hayes and Steve-O Speaks holds it down, and she does the amazing live calls for that channel as well. All right, Q, another one in the books, man. We will keep our ears to the street. Whatever news breaks over the next 24 hours for any of these Chicago teams, we will be here tomorrow to discuss with you guys, as well as tonight's opening game for the Chicago Bulls. So don't forget to follow Chicago Bulls Central, Bears Central, Blackhawks Central, White Sox Central, Cubs Central, and Sky Central if you want any updates on those teams individually. And come right back here tomorrow to kick it with me, Quentin, and Steve-O to discuss all teams. Hey, we're going to holler at you guys next time. Peace.